The Calgary Flames are off to a 5-0-1 start. Well, close enough. Welcome back, 2021-2022 Calgary Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. The Flames have had such a unique start to this season that it is impossible to ignore, and I feel like we need to unpack so much of the first 6 games of the season, but obviously specifically last night's shootout win against the Pittsburgh Penguins, as well as some leadership, players stepping up to the plate, as well as some potential comparisons to another underdog Flames team we saw not too long ago. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And my goodness, what a night it was for the Flames in a shootout win. Justin Kirkland, I swear, this team just is a home for underdogs. I think that that is the perfect way to encapsulate the Calgary Flames brand. I feel like you just are able to get the most out of these players that, maybe are career AHLers or haven't really had success at the NHL level. And they're getting traded a little bit and they finally find a home and they they make themselves right at home and you see a new side of them. And Justin Kirkland is becoming such a fun story, and I I'm just really happy for him, and I think it's great. There's going to be some serious competition for that fourth line center spot when Kevin Rooney is able to come back to play, and we'll talk about that later down the road. But what I noticed last night, immediately, was how similar the Penguins, the first period specifically, how similar the Pittsburgh Penguins looked to um the Flames in that first period against the Canucks in the season opener. That was so hard to watch. It was fun this time around because obviously the Flames were on the good end of things, but they were just walking into the zone. They were strolling, they were peppering shots. At one point it was they were out shooting the Penguins 7-0, and it was great. I was like, this is gonna be a cakewalk. This is gonna be such a fun game. It's gonna be so nice. And the Flames are gonna do really well. They did really well, but it wasn't a cakewalk. Obviously, uh, Martin Pospisil took a penalty that allowed Brian Rust to score on the power play to tie it up. And you don't really like to see that. You don't want to see that. And I thought that Huska benching Pospisil was kind of interesting. Martin Pospisil is a frequent flyer to the penalty box, so I think that it's appropriate. At some point, you have to kind of settle him down and rein him in, but to bench him for the final 13 minutes of the second period, that is sending a message, and I just can't believe it. I think that it's a very good message to send, but with that, he does have to play better disciplined hockey. We've talked about that a lot. And I had him as a player to watch for last night on yesterday's show. So yeah, we watched him, but he has to figure out a way to rein it in and bounce back and not and just tighten up the game. You can't we know that this team's penalty kill is not good enough to be in and out of the box all the time. You have to find a way to draw the penalties and give yourself the man advantage and send them on the penalty kill. You can't just be taking these frivolous penalties. Um Dustin Wolf has looked great too. I am thoroughly obsessed with everything that he has given us. This is also the first time the Flames are 5-0-1 through the first 6 games of the season in franchise history. Dustin Wolf is 3-0-0 to start the season at a 936 save percentage, and the team's save percentage is 6th overall with a 918. Thank you, Pat Steinberg, for compiling all these good stats because honestly, where would we be without Pat? I am impressed with this team and how they're starting off and how it's been consistent play. I didn't expect this. Is this something that's sustainable? I don't know because I didn't think it was going to last beyond 3 or 4 games. They've proved me wrong. I am interested to see, how they approach the trade market. I know that they are looking for obviously a young centerman, and we talked about that a bit yesterday. How quickly are they looking to move there, and what are we looking at timeline wise? So we'll have to keep an eye on that as more of that story unfolds. But coming up next, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll talk about Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar fully blossoming into the leadership role that everyone has kind of always expected and how their time is now. And we will be right back after this. I got to see the Battle of Alberta in Edmonton earlier this month, thanks to Gametime and Gametime Picks. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to filter through thousands of tickets. I ran to Gametime when I got to Calgary after purchasing, realizing I was going to be going to the Battle of Alberta. I opened Gametime and I found my seats. I'm not even kidding you, in under a minute because of how just attractive the seats were and how good the deal was. And you can find that for all your live events, whether it's concerts, comedy, theater, sporting events on Gametime. Download the Gametime app today and create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. And terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. Do you think that Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards next week, or Christian McCaffrey will run for more than 75.5 yards? Cook up hot takes with your friends, win real money this football season, and you and your crew will run the game on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is downloading the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. I hope you're having a great week. It's Wednesday, and I know it's been kind of snowy up in Calgary, and I hope you're all staying warm or cool, depending on where you're listening from. I hope you're all doing well, and let's dive right back into this with our fearless leaders of the Flames blue line, Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar. Both of these players are highly respected players in the Flames locker room. And they were in contention, like in talks, when the Flames, like prior to Backlund being named captain. I think that, obviously Backlund has been with the team a lot longer. He's the longest tenured Flame on the team. Um, but I think that Weegar and Anderson have both, even at that point, 2 years ago, they had, Weegar came in here and instantly, kind of picked everyone up by their bootstraps and told them to trudge forward and was that guy that he could, be that voice of reason. And Rasmus Anderson has always been that way too. And I think they both feed off of each other on and off the ice in a fantastic way. And I think they're just naturally strong voices and highly respected players. So the Flames put out an article today talking about how their time has come to be the um, the voice and the leadership of the blue line. And I don't even think it's just for the defense. I think it's really for the whole team as well. But I have a few quotes from the article here, and this is Weegar talking. Ras and I are a little different in our in our scoring our goals. He obviously gets up in the rush a bit more. I just like shooting the puck and like getting my bounces and my muffins in the net. That I think they're both very similar um in terms of how they lead, but having that contrast on the ice is good too. I like that. I feel like we have seen Anderson kind of take a step back from shooting, and I've mentioned this a few times before. It really started after his accident in Detroit. So I don't know if there's a correlation there or if responsibilities kind of shifted to Weegar, because I do feel like Weegar has kind of taken over, that heavy slap shot in comparison to what Anderson used to do. And um, they both set really good examples for their teammates. Rasmus Anderson talks about it here as well. If we try to set a good example, if we block shots or if we join the rush, if we hit someone, Weegsy, more of a hitter than I am, we're both pretty good at eating pucks. Um, you know, Mackenzie Weegar blocked 200 shots last season. That's gotta hurt. That's not something that's necessarily an easy feat, and I think he was kind of always like that, but I'm sure playing with a guy like Chris Tanev, as well as Rasmus Anderson kind of increases that in you, and no one wants to step in front of a puck. No one wants to do that, but it kind of just does become, second nature and a natural instinct, and I think that's what it's become for this these two, and it's kind of rubbing off on the other teammates as well, I would say. um I think he's got a lot of confidence right now in himself, and that's what we need from him, Uyghur said of Anderson. Yes, the biggest thing that he was lacking last year was his confidence, and it was so obvious. You could tell, especially on the power play, that he just struggled. There was no, like, he did not believe in himself. Even if his responsibilities shifted from, necessarily the slap shot on, the infamous Rasmus Anderson slap shot, to, getting up closer to the net, it just was not there. He was passing so much more than he needed to be. And I think that that's kind of not like, we're not seeing that as much this year so far, and it's very clear. And he looks good, and We need him to be our best defenseman every night, and he's shown that. And that is a huge step, I feel like, from last year, where Anderson was, to where he is now. And I think a full season of recovering after being hit by a vehicle on an electric scooter, um, to, fully recover from that, have that off season, and then, the season to kind of get back into the groove of things, as well as this past off season, and then jumping back into it. I think that, it's just a time thing. Like, you don't heal from that overnight. And I'm thoroughly impressed with how well he's playing. I think Weegar is great. I'm hoping that Miramanov can kind of like step it up just a little bit. I want to see a little bit more from him, and I'm hoping that playing, with Weegar will help, and we'll see more of that. But coming up next, we're going to talk about my way too early comparison between this team and the 2021-2022 Calgary Flames here on Locked On Flames. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Okay, so maybe, tomorrow night the Flames are playing the Hurricanes. Maybe you bet the over. Dan Vladar has kind of struggled against the Hurricanes in the past. So is this an opportunity for the Flames to lose in regulation for the first time? Could you maybe bet on an anytime Connor Zary goal, or maybe Rasmus Andersson 3+ shots on net, or a Nazem Kadri game winner? You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I hope you're all having a great day, and remember to follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. I thought this very, 3 games into the season, and I said, you cannot tweet this. You cannot speak of this. You cannot, stop thinking about this. The team was giving me 2021-2022 Calgary Flames vibes. That team was a very special team, and that is a team that a lot of us, hold very close to our hearts, especially now. But the comparisons there, it was a very low expectation for that team going into that season, and they had fired Jeff Ward. Daryl Sutter had taken over. Daryl Sutter, this was going to be his first full season behind the bench. And things were different. You could absolutely see the difference in just about everyone's game, whether, that was an uptick in production from players like Elias Lindholm, putting Johnny and Maddie on the same line. That was, revolutionary, it's such a shame that they only got to play one season together. But Jacob Markstrom had one heck of a season that year. Dan Vladar had a great season that year. And we're kind of starting to see that. And I know we're not even 10 games into the season, and it feels crazy to say that. But, Kadri's had a great start to the season. Jonathan Huberdeau's had a pretty good start to the season. The power play, I don't know where this power play came from, but I'm enjoying it. Penalty kill, nothing is ever going to be like that team. But I do feel like we're seeing these underdogs and just a group of players that have been doubted and just kind of I don't know what the right word would be. I guess they're expected to be bad, and they're not. They're playing very good hockey, and not even just good hockey, but winning hockey. Is this sustainable? I don't know. Do I care? No, because we're going to ride this out. It is a long season. We are 6 games into this thing. There's 75 games left. I don't know. I can't do math. But regardless, there's still a long season ahead of the Flames. And what they're showing us right now is good. Good hockey. We're seeing effective communication. We're seeing great goaltending from 2 of the most inexperienced goaltenders, the goaltending tandem in the league. We're seeing great stuff from Weegar and Andersson again. You know, Huberdeau's kind of finding his groove again. And the young players in Connor Zary and Coronado and, Martin Pospisil playing at center, things are taking shape. And this good start does not mean like the rebuild is over or they've completely diverted from that plan. Like I said, it's a long season. Stretches of good and bad hockey are going to happen. You cannot say this season is over while it's still October. And you cannot say they're winning the cup in October. I would say that, at the end of the day, we all want them to win the Stanley Cup at one point or another. I do not think that's this team, but hey, crazier things have happened. Like I said, it's way too early to be considering this team a contender or writing this team off completely or, thinking about how they're going to be buyers at the deadline instead of sellers. Like we don't have to get that far ahead of ourselves. Still in the first 3 weeks of the season. Let's see what happens in the month of October and where November has historically been tough for the Flames. So I would love to see what they give us next month. And 85% of the teams in playoff positioning by American Thanksgiving make the playoffs. That is still a little over a month away. So that is something to keep in mind as well. But I'm hopeful for this team one way or another. Like I feel like we all just need to have fun. It was a tough summer. And there's something good happening in front of us, and let's not take it for granted. I'm I know we kind of all do the thing where we check in on how like former players are doing. Nikita Zadorov has taken 7 penalties in his 7 games as a Bruin, and fans are already kind of over him. Noah Hanifin has not been playing well with the Golden Knights. Chris Tanev, he's always doing something. He blocked a shot the other night, and it honestly looked like it broke his ankle, and he was fine. Elias Lindholm, doing fine. But like, let's just ride this high of winning before it starts getting dark at 4:00 and this team has not won a game in like 3 weeks. Let's make the most of it. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I hope you're having a great week and enjoying the success of this team. It's a long season. You want to hang out here, we're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And I will be back tomorrow with some pointers ahead of the game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day, and I'll see you next time.